The movie begins when a lady stepping out of her car with a rifle. Her dress is milk in color, and she is limping. She walks some distance away and points the gun up as if waiting for a signal or ready for something. Meanwhile, in Texas Eastham Prison Farm, some inmates are working on a farm, carrying logs. Policemen riding horse and some on foot protect and survey the area to make sure no one escapes. An inmate distracts a policeman by having a casual conversation. Another inmate takes this as a sign, and smartly pulls out 2 guns from a pit. He gives one to another inmate. The 2 inmates point their guns at 2 police officers asking them to drop their weapons, which they obediently did. Looking at each other they communicate a message. Suddenly the driver of the car that brought the lady hits the horn. The lady responds by firing heavily upwards. The 2 inmates pick the signal and shoot down a policeman to make way for their escape. They start running out of the forest. As they ran, the other police officer who heard the gunshot and saw the inmate shoot a policeman goes after them. The 2 inmates runs into the car, and they zoomed off. These were not just any random inmates, but the associates of Clyde Barrow, a notorious and popular killer, and Bonnie Parker, Clyde's partner and the lady with the rifle. The news of the escape spread throughout the state of Texas like wildfire. Reporters stormed the house of the Texas governor, Ma Ferguson. They bombard her with questions as she comes out of her car heading to the government house. While she ignored other questions or gave short answers, a particular question made her stop to give full clarification. A reporter asks if Bonnie and Clyde are heroes and Robin Hood. She dismisses the question, saying the popular Robin Hood never killed a civilian. The governor meets with some men to discuss how to stop Bonnie and Clyde. Texas Department of Corrections Chief Lee Simmons convinces the governor to hire a ranger, who was disbanded by the legislature to do the job. After some argument, the governor agrees. Chief Lee Simmons visits Frank Hamer with an officer. He tells him of the prison break and how Bonnie and Clyde have been on the loose for the past 2 years. He tells Hamer that the governor has backed him to track Bonnie and Clyde, but not as a ranger but as a special highway assignment. As they were still discussing, Hamer's wife Gladys arrives in her Ford car. She greets Lee Simmons and asks what he came to do. Hamer tells her the governor is offering him $130 a month to track down Bonnie and Clyde. This news changes the mood of Gladys. She dismisses Lee Simmons and walks straight into the house. At night, while Hamer receives fresh air outside while listening to the radio, he hears news that Bonnie and Clyde killed some officers. Hamer was reluctant to go because of his wife Gladys, but she later allows him to go, offering him her Ford car, some sandwich, and a goodbye kiss. Hamer leaves for the operation, stopping at Chief Lee Simmons' office for some documents, and his badge that gives him the legal right to operate. Meanwhile, Gault, a former ranger and Hamer's henchman, is living impoverished with his grandson in the countryside. Hamer stops at a reasonable distance to access him, before turning his car to leave. Hamer goes to a gun shop to purchase rifles for the operation. The seller is amazed and asks why Hamer is purchasing such number and powerful weapons. The gun seller and his son carry the guns into Hamer's car. Sitting on a bench beside the car is Gault. Hamer is surprised to see him and asks how he knew it was him. Gault explains when he saw him dressed in a suit, he thought it was the bank until he saw how poorly he drove. Hamer allows him to join him on the mission on a condition he doesn't drive or sing in the car. Meanwhile, the governor tells her son to track Bonnie and Clyde before Hamer and Gault do so. She increased the taxes to create a more stable and better force that can't afford to fail after disbanding the Rangers. Hamer and Gault leave for Dallas, Texas, home of Bonnie and Clyde, and that is where Hamer thinks they are heading. Hamer and Gault arrive at Dallas, Texas. They park their car in a hidden spot that overlooks Bonnie's mother's house. Thanks to FBI wiretaps, he discovers Bonnie and Clyde have been communicating. They intend to deliver a rabbit to the mom. They see a car stop at the house, and a man comes out with a bottle which he throws over the fence. Almost immediately a bottle was thrown outside from inside the house, and a young teenager picks it up. Hamer and Gault chase the teenager but are unsuccessful. Sitting on a log beside the fence, some detectives from the FBI meet them and ask for information on where they think Bonnie and Clyde might be going to. Hamer says they'll be coming home because outlaws always come home. The detective doesn't quite agree with this. They believe Clyde is going to Brownsville. Hamer and Gault meet the local sheriff in charge of West Dallas, Sheriff Smoot Schmidt, and ask for help to kill Bonnie and Clyde. They ask for anyone that might in any way be close to them or know them well. The sheriff introduces him to his deputy sheriff, Ted Hinton, who grew up with them and even served them. He says Ted can identify them at first sight. Hamer and Gault visit a clearing in the forest believed to be a campsite. Gault trains by shooting at a no trespassing sign, and he misses all his shots. Hamer tries with a powerful rifle and hits the target. The next day, an old farmer who just finished milking his cow sees Bonnie and Clyde shoot and kill 2 police officers. The shock causes the milk bowl in his hands to fall off. Hamer and Gault receive information that there was a shooting around the area. They leave with Ted Hinton to investigate. When they arrive at the scene, Hamer and Gault investigate the body and the surrounding area. Hamer and Gault leave West Dallas for Oklahoma, where they refuel their car. Hamer asks the fuel attendant if he saw a blue sedan, with 2 men and a woman heading north. The fuel attendant replies that if it's Bonnie and Clyde they are looking for, he didn't see them, and even if he did, he wouldn't tell them. After all, they are robbing banks and not poor folks like him. Hamer beats him up. He points a gun at him, threatening to shoot. The attendant is afraid and tells him what he knows about Bonnie and Clyde. Hamer and Gault arrive at a migrant camp that they suspect Bonnie and Clyde passed through, based on the information gotten from the fuel attendant. A little crowd blocks them from moving further. Gault goes to inquire while Hamer stays on the lookout in the car with a gun, just in case anything happens. The spokesman of the crowd says they didn't come through here. Later Gault confirms they came from a girl who showed him the doll Bonnie gave to her. Hamer and Gault survey another campsite where Bonnie and Clyde camped. 2 policemen see a car park on the road. They drop out to check what's happening and render their assistance, only to be shot multiple times by 2 men. Gault turns on the radio to hear a report of 2 officers shot 20 miles away from their current location. When they arrive at the scene, they are stopped from passing because they don't have the jurisdiction, which frustrates Hamer and drives around. They arrive at Coffeyville, Kansas, and stop at a restaurant. They predict that Bonnie and Clyde would come for supplies, which is correct. As Gault eases himself, he sees Bonnie and Clyde pull over, followed by some fans cheering and celebrating them. Hamer and Gault chase Bonnie, and Clyde with his smart driving create a little dust storm that blocks the view of Hamer and Gault, giving them enough time to escape. They return to Texas and discover the rabbit has been delivered. Hamer meets Henry Barrow, Clyde's father, in his shop, who says he knows Hamer will kill Clyde. He tells Hamer that Clyde was never born that way, it all started after he was arrested for stealing a chicken. Hamer replied by telling Barrow his story. He started when he was 16 and wanted to go to the seminary. Barrow tells Hamer to end it for his family. Hamer and Gault visit a club where some gang members who have some intel were partying and drinking. Hamer gets some information interrogating McNabb, while some gang members try to attack Gault in the restroom. They notify him that Clyde is king in this area. Gault quickly overpowers them, threatening to shoot if they don't comply with his directive. Hamer and Gault discover that Bonnie plans to visit a hairdresser the next day, and they survey her house again. They see a car parked at their house. A man comes out and throws a bottle into the yard, then leaves. The young boy who picked the previous one, picks the bottle again, just like before. Hamer chases him. He runs but stumbles on the floor thanks to Gault, who stuck out his leg as a stumbling block. The bottle contains a message that says, "Headed for greener pastures, see you next time around." Realizing McNabb warned them. They visit his house at night, only to see him beaten to death. Hamer and Gault engage in a little argument. McNabb's death seems to have reduced their morale. Nevertheless, they continue on the mission. Hamer reports back to Lee Simmons, who says he needs to come back home. Hamer and Gault try to decode what Bonnie and Clyde mean by headed for greener pasture. They figure out Bonnie and Clyde are going to Bienville Parish, Louisiana, home of gang member Henry Methvin's father, Ivy. Hamer and Gault travel to Bienville Parish, Louisiana. They secretly monitor Ivy to see when he leaves the house. Seeing he has gone to his woodcutting business, they search his house and discover proof that Bonnie and Clyde stayed in his house recently and could be coming back. Gault suggests bringing in the local sheriff into the case, but Hamer asks what if the sheriff is part of the entire plot and intentionally closed an eye to their activities in the neighborhood. To find out, they decide to set a trap to test his integrity. Gault disguises as a relative of Clyde. He tries to know if the sheriff supports and covers Clyde by offering him money as a token of their appreciation. Taking the money will reveal him as an accomplice, meaning he is not to be trusted, and thus cannot be part of the operation. The sheriff gives a sign to his deputy, and they press him on the table, proving he has no hand and is transparent. Gault shows him his badge. They lure Ivy out with a mouth-watering woodcutting offer. Ivy takes the bait. They get Ivy to agree to the deal by promising to spare his son. Ivy agrees Clyde was in his house for some time with his son, but they got separated, and he says they can kill him. Hamer and Gault prepare for an ambush. They call the sheriff of Dallas and Ted to join in the ambush alongside the sheriff, Henderson Jordan, and Deputy Prentice Oakley of Bienville Parish. At night, Hamer is outside smoking, while the rest of them playing a card game. Ted Hinton reveals a press company gave him a camera to film the killing for a sum of money. Ivy comes to the house. He tells them that Bonnie and Clyde will be coming. That night, they went to the site and made a clearing for where they will position to shoot. Hamer asks Ivy to park his car on the road and removes a tire so Bonnie and Clyde can stop to help him when they are passing. Ivy disagrees at first, saying it's not part of the deal, and he could get shot, but later accepts as it's part of the plan to kill Bonnie and Clyde. The next morning, Hamer gives them instructions on how the mission will go. When the car stops, he will present himself. They are to shoot when he gives the signal. While they wait, Hamer thanks Gault for being with him in the operation. They sight Bonnie and Clyde. Hamer tells Ivy to leave the hideout and stay near his car, pretending to be fixing it. Ivy obeys. Bonnie and Clyde stop their car near Ivy's truck. Clyde asks if he needs help. Hamer sees they fell for the trap and comes out of his hideout. He points his rifle at Bonnie. Bonnie quickly holds her gun. Gault comes out of hiding too and points his gun at Clyde, followed by the rest of the team who stood up pointing their gun at the side of the car. Bonnie tries to grab her gun to shoot. Hamer and Gault pull the trigger, followed by the team. They raze them with bullets, shooting non-stop for over 40 seconds. Clyde removes his leg from the brake, causing the car to move slowly. They continue shooting until it came to a halt. Ted opens the door and identifies them as Bonnie and Clyde. The movie ends when Bonnie and Clyde's car is pulled to the city. Large fans gathered around the car, some crying, some screaming, some pulling their body. Hamer rejects an offer to speak to the press in New York for $1,000. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.